Greetings! So today I have something a bit special. I was sent this box from Paletteful Packs, which is a subscription box of art supplies, and we will be taking a look at it together. So yeah, this is the box, quite straightforward. I'll open it. Alright, so let's see what's in here. First thing we see is this Jelly Roll pen from Sakura in 10. I don't know what that refers to. It's kind of a big tip, right? Okay, so there's that. First thing. Then there's a lot of these fuzzy filler things. Okay, fuzzy caterpillars. Let's get this out, and this here. No, you go back in, and paper. All right. So, first thing I noticed right away is that this one doesn't seem to come with a little... Hold on. All right, so yeah, this... Unless I'm missing something, but this box doesn't seem to have sort of a... This box doesn't seem to have sort of a little, you know, the card with the description of the content and sometimes a prompt or, you know, something to spark creativity and encourage people to use this stuff. So, okay. I mean, that's just different from the other ones I've seen. Let's see what we have here. Huh. Okay, cool. Cool. Alright, we saw the J-Roll 10 earlier, so that's the one. There's a Pigma Micron in 05 size. So that's a felt tip. I don't know if you can see here. A felt tip. A felt tip pen. It's called the 05, but it says 0.45 mm, so millimeter line. Right, then we have this one, a Pigma BB. I have never seen one of these before. Oh, it's a brush pen, okay. Wow, and quite a beefy one too. Does it say if it's waterproof or something? No, it doesn't. Okay. And then we have these two. Pentel point liner, water and fade resistant. I've never seen these either. Most of my fine liners I have are like 20 years old, so I'm not super up to date with the current things. So this one is in 0.8. So quite a thick tip. And the other one is the opposite. It's a 0.1, so quite a fine tip. Right? That's the pen we have in here. Then we have these coloring brush pens. It says it's by Sakura as well. Has anything not been from Sakura so far? Well, the Pentel point liners are from Pentel. That's quite obvious. This one, the Pigma BB, Sakura as well, Sakura Jelly Roll, and the Sakura Koi coloring brush pen. So what does it say? It says flexible brush marker, and that you can blend them. They don't have any other. They're transparent, and it's a water-based ink. So I guess they're like watercolor brush pens in a way. Probably made from a dye though, so these are probably not light fast. Let's see. Yeah, okay. The dye-based ink blends easily to create a multitude of color hues. Compact pen length. It's supposed to be a special blender pen. Available separately. Okay. So we have in here, well, the color, I mean, you can see them. It's fairly obvious what they are. It's kind of funny that in general, whenever you have something like with colors, they include the white one that you sort of end up not really using. Except in this case, the white one would be the blending pen, and they don't include it, so... And then we have this pack of Stonehenge Aqua. It's Legion paper in partnership with Paletteful packs, I guess, because you have both logos on there. I think this is one sheet of each of these three. Yeah, it looks like it. So one sheet of cold press, one sheet of hot press, and one sheet of cold press heavy. And that's watercolor paper, that's cotton watercolor paper too. So I'm trying to work out how to combine everything. I mean, the point liners and the fine liners and all of that is easily compatible with the watercolor paper, especially if they are all waterproof. This one has yet to be tested. And this one is for highlights. Like when you're finished, you can add a bit of white to create highlights on your work. So that's understood. And now how to use these with everything else. Alright, let me brainstorm and we'll come back to this when I have an idea. The first thing I decided to do was to test out the supplies, especially the pens. I wanted to see how they all react with water to form an idea of how to use them on the watercolor paper. I used a sketchbook, the first one within reach. The Micron and the point liner pens are waterproof when dry, but the coloring brush pens, the Pigma and the white gel pen are all water soluble. Not completely though, so after painting these swatches, I was still a bit unsure about how I wanted to use the brush. They don't feel or look very watercolory. The watercolor paper is quite lovely. All three sheets are made from cotton, and I love that they included a sheet of the thicker paper. The hot press is smooth. The other two have a very similar texture since they're both cold press paper. The sheets are about 8 by 10 inches. I will not be using the whole sheets to test out the supplies, so I'll be cutting them in 4. Doing that will give me a chance to do it over if the first test doesn't work out. I tried a few things with the markers. Laying the marker down first and then quickly grabbing a brush to move the color around doesn't work very well. I also tried adding marker ink in a wet area, but it had the effect of diluting the ink in the pen while dropping in very little color. At that point, I got really annoyed and decided to grab a plastic palette so I can use the pen on the palette and then pick up the ink with my brush. I don't really see another way to use these as watercolors. They don't mix all that well on paper and they don't play well with the paper and water. The cotton paper absorbs the ink from the marker way too fast to be able to work at it. Using the plastic palette also let me mix the colors together to get new hues. The inks used that way also layered quite well. The colors are definitely dyes. That can be seen in this area where it obviously split into yellow and pink. In consequence of that, it's fair to assume these colors are not light fast. When the drawings were dry, I used the white gel pen to add white accents, and that worked quite well. The white ink is not completely opaque, but I think it has a nice soft highlight to the paintings. My finished drawings are okay, but I'm not a big fan of this combination of supplies. First, to make the best of them, I had to grab a paintbrush, a rag, a pencil and eraser, a plastic palette, and a container of water, in addition to the stuff from the box. I have no idea how to make the best of the supplies from the box on their own. The brushes don't come with a blender, and the lack of water tool doesn't work in favor of using these as watercolors. Then again, we get good quality watercolor paper with the pens and coloring brush pens. I could use the paper as I would any basic paper, but that feels like a waste. Also, the cotton paper will absorb a lot of the ink from the pen, which will not help in prolonging their life. It's also worth noting that all the items labeled as a brush in this box have, in fact, a brush type, felt, or foam tip. None of them is an actual brush with bristles. So, what do I think of this art supplies box? I am not all that convinced about this specific box, to be honest. The paper, the waterproof fine liners, and the white gel pen are definitely compatible together, along with real watercolors. The Pigma pen and the coloring brush pens feel like they don't really belong with water media. I was looking at that specific box on Paletteful's website, and I find it a bit expensive for the supplies included. Possibly not by Paletteful's action, though, as the coloring brush pen set is quite expensive for what it is. I also noticed the Paletteful Petite pack box for the same month, and I think it's much nicer. It has the same paper, the white gel pen, one of the waterproof point liners, and an interesting selection of the coloring brush pens. It's a more limited selection of colors and feels more challenging to the creativity than the very basic color selection I received. I also feel like a small card describing the theme and the items would be nice to have. It doesn't have to be big or fancy. For some reason, not having one in this box felt to me like it was a random assortment of items with no logic. Just whatever tossed into a box. Or, I mean, perhaps there's usually a card and I didn't get one for some reason. That's also possible. I'd be curious to see future boxes from this subscription service, but I would not recommend the premium version of this specific box. Unless you have a way of making all this work. If these supplies inspire you, by all means, go ahead. I tried, but maybe I missed on something. What do you think of the items in this box? Let me know in the comments below. Take care. Bye bye.